Well, welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we are diving back into the Beauty series by Georgia Cates. Now, if you have not listened to the review of book one, that link is going to be available down below in the description section. Once you finish that review, come and join us as we dive into book two, Beauty from Surrender. We pick up right where we left off, which is where Laura Lynn is on the plane. She's taking a Valium so she can just shut her mind down. We already know her mom had an issue with pills, but even with that, that's a big reason of why she stayed away from taking pills. But she just needed something to numb the pain, which is wild because as she's doing it, she kind of thinks this is probably what my mom had to do to numb her pain. They get to Los Angeles. Addison is going to stay with her parents in California for about 2 weeks, and Laurel Lynn is going to go and head back to Nashville. Addison's really concerned about her. She's like, I don't want you holed up in that apartment for 2 weeks, just crying over that guy, and getting kind of forceful, with her, with the concern, you know? And she has to kind of tell her, I'm not going to fall apart. I'm going to be okay, X, Y, and Z. Even if it's not really true, she tries to make it as convincing as possible, and Addison finally leaves. So she has about an hour before her flight takes off for Nashville. And so she calls her mom, and her mom's like, yeah, she'll be there to pick her up. And her mom's like, I'm sorry. She tells her mom, I have, stuff to talk to you about. And her mom's like, okay, cool. So her mom picks her up from the airport. They go and have dinner. It's this little hole in the wall, authentic Mexican place that they love. And her mom just starts going in. Basically, her mom is back to banging Daddy Jake Beckett again. He is still married. Laura Lynn does point that out to her mom. Like, he's still married to his wife, right? And the mom is like, yeah, he loved her maybe at one point, but that's been over for years and all this type of stuff. We're getting back together, all this type of crap. So at this point, she's ready to go because she really can't talk about what happened with her mom because her mom is so excited about this bullshit with the dad that she doesn't even want to listen to anything Laurel Lynn has to talk about. She just only wants to talk about her stuff, you know? So she gets home, takes a shower. Of course, she wants to scream, but she doesn't because she doesn't want to alert the neighbors. Um, but she's just trying to make it through at this point. Poor thing. We switch to Jack. He's at a bar. He's getting slammed. He's looking around. He's looking for number 14. He figures if he gets a new woman, he can, bang the pain away. So a blonde woman comes up, and he had already said, like, you couldn't do another brunette like our girl Laura Lynn. Like, can't do that. Um, so the blonde woman comes up. Looks like she's possibly a little older. This is perfect. So the woman is also looking for a good time because apparently her boyfriend, she's in love with someone else, and her boyfriend apparently doesn't want to be with her, something crazy. So she wants a distraction too, okay? And he flat out lets her know it's just a fuck, no strings attached. She says she's cool with it. They go upstairs. She starts kissing on him, but he turns his head so that she can't kiss his lips. She's about to, she's already taken his dick out, put the condom on, about to shove him, inside of her, and he stops her. He's like, I can't do this. I can't do it. He tells her she can keep the room, but he's got to go. So he leaves her, winds up calling his brother Evan, and instead of Daniel, which I would have thought he would just call Daniel, but he wanted to talk. And so he calls Evan, tells Evan everything, and Evan's just kind of like, you've got plenty of money. You can find her, you know? So he calls the PI, asks him, is his passport, is that thing ready to go? We fast forward a week, or it could have been a couple days. His mom comes over because she's pissed because she's been trying to call him and he hasn't been answering the phone. She wants to know what the hell happened. She wants that update. So he winds up telling her everything. She's mad at him. I think she even hit him with her purse. And she confessed that she had talked to Laurel Lynn and told her that she knew that her son loved her. So she's like, why didn't you tell her that you wanted to be with her? And he felt stupid. His mom's super pissed because she loves Laurel Lynn. And he's like, Mom, don't worry about it, I got somebody on it. She's like, you need to be the one to go and do it, you know and he says, don't worry, I'm not going to let her go again. The next time I get her, I'm going to ask her to be my wife. We switch back to Laurel Lynn. These 2 weeks, she's been like so sick. She thinks is love sick. I'm wondering if this heifer's pregnant. I don't know. She could not be, but I'm like, they were kind of fucking raw towards the end, so it is a possibility. We don't know. So her manager's name is David, and he basically let her know, like, you've got to come down here. You got to work this shit out for your career or it's going to be done. So she pulls herself together. Still looks like shit, but she gets herself together enough to go down to the studio. So when she gets in the elevator, she feels someone behind her. She knows it's Blake, but she just keeps looking forward, but she can feel him staring at her. She doesn't say anything. They get upstairs. They get in the meeting. David, of course, was like so happy to see her, X, Y, and Z. And David doesn't know why she left because he doesn't know that her and Blake were fucking around. She kept that from everybody. But that was because, basically it told her it's going to be bad for your career if people find out, all this type of stuff. So she kept that to herself. So she's supposed to come back the next day to start recording. So she leaves out. She's in the elevator. Yes, Blake is right behind her. He doesn't say anything at first, but then eventually he starts with the bullshit, telling her, how much he misses her and that he's going to leave his wife Beth for her, all this type of stuff. And she said, I met a man, a real man, 6 hours after I landed in Australia. Because he kept being under the assumption that she was just so crazy about him. And she let him know, I spent the next 3 months basically getting, fucked and coming the hardest I ever have in my life. Like, I don't care anything about you. I don't want anything with you. So when they get into the parking garage, he winds up grabbing her, telling her he knows she still thinks of him, and something about, he basically threatens her and says, like, he knows that she has needs that have to be met because her Australian guy, he's not here, so someone's got to take care of those needs, and it's going to be him. And if she doesn't allow it to be him, then he's going to ruin her career. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So she lets him know, I'm not doing anything with you. I don't want you at all, ever again. And he grabbed her again, and she winds up kicking him in the nuts and getting away. But the idea that he did that, you know what I mean? And that he was wanting to hold her career with the thing of, you gotta fuck me if you want this career. Like, we hear this all the time in all these different stories, both real life and even in movies, we hear this stuff. But it was just kind of like, this guy is delusional. He really is. He's delusional. And maybe she was crazy about him at one point, but clearly that has changed. But he's not ready to let go. She figures she probably just tanked her career, but at this point she doesn't care. So she goes back to her apartment. Her mom's calling her. So she's like, she might as well answer because if she doesn't, the mom's just going to keep calling. So the mom wanted to know what happened in the meeting. And she's like, I'll have to tell you in person. I'm tired. So she's going to go to her mom's place and tell her. And then when she asked her mom, I'm sorry, when her mom asked her what happened, um, she was starting to tell her because her mom was like, we're going to figure this out. And she's like, we? Sure enough, the dad's, I don't even like calling him a dad. Because I don't really know his intentions at this point, right? Because I think he a bum too. But Jake Beckett's there. And she tells what happened. She also tells her mom about Jake Henry. And her mom's just kind of like, pissed off that the Blake guy did this to her. And she's, saying all the stuff they're going to do. And the Jake Beckett guy is ready to, like, do something about it. But if he does something, then people are going to know that that's not her sperm donor. I'm going to keep it with what she said. And if she doesn't want people to know that, so, and I get it. I do. So the mom, of course, is still like, no, we can fix this for you. We've got this guy to get, all this type of crap. But again, the mom, to me, uses her because that's the link to the dad. And if she ever cut off her mom, I feel like the dad would go away. I don't feel like he would stick around. I forgot to mention when he walked out, the Jake Beckett guy was like, "Oh my gosh, you look just like my sister," and she's looking at him like in the mirror. I mean, same blue eyes, dark hair. It's really uncanny. So then we switch back to Jack Henry. He's a mess, poor thing. He's been staying at his apartment in Sydney because he really can't bear to be at Avalon. He even told Miss Porcelli, "Don't change the sheets because Laurel Lynn's scent is still in them." But now he's got to go back because it's harvesting season, and he can't abandon it anymore. So he gets a call from his brother Evan asking if he can stop by, and he says, "Okay." So he stops by, and this is his conundrum. So his wife is pregnant again. The last one they've got two daughters. That was supposed to be it. They were supposed to be done, but apparently they went away for a weekend, and she didn't really, did she not take the pills or something? And so boom, she's pregnant again. She's ecstatic about it, which kind of makes me think she wanted it. Just saying. However, they just got the youngest one weaned off the tit like 2 months ago. And he's like thinking finally he's got his wife back, but now we got to start this thing all over again. So Jack Henry just kind of lets him know, like, I feel bad for you, but at the same time, and there's no judgment. He's like, but you all will figure it out. You know, it's gonna be an adjustment, but it's happening. You'll figure it out. And he felt bad. Evan did, because it's like there's this child. They were trying for a son, I guess, prior. They wanted. Well, let me say it correctly. He didn't care, but Emma wanted a son. So that's what makes me think Emma did this shit on purpose. That's just my thought. I don't know. I could be so wrong. But that's what I think happened. But I think it's nice that him and his brother are talking. Like, these big moments in their life, they're having these conversations. Like, normally he wouldn't have called his brother and told him about what was going on with him and Laura Lynn. And his brother wouldn't have called him and told him what he's going through. So they're starting to get closer, But I think before they led such separate lives, right? All our boy Jack Henry did was play in the field, and then Evan was serious. You know, he's a family guy. So they weren't necessarily on the same page, but now they seem to be, and it's brought them closer. So I think that's cute. I like that. Jack Henry gets back to Avalon. He's talking with Mrs. Porcelli, and she tells him that she found something of Laurel Lynn's in one of the nightstands. And she says it's pretty personal, so I was thinking you might, you know, want it. And so he's thinking maybe she left some more underwear. So he runs and goes in there, and he sees this half pack of birth control. So he's Googling, and it's like, okay, there's a possibility she could be pregnant based on what he's seeing. And he's getting excited because if she's pregnant, like, it's like, oh my gosh, like, he really can have what he wants with her, because he wants her with kids. That's what he wants, which is crazy because he was so far from that when we first met him, but he's all in now. So he calls the PI. They don't have any activity on Addison, and he's coming up short. And so the PI is like, well, maybe we should try and approach Blake Phillips. And at this point, he's desperate. He's like, fine, just record the meeting. Makes him kind of sick because he would hate if she ran back to be with Blake, you know? But we know she hasn't done that. But, he's having every thought in the world. So I can see why he would think like that. We switch back to Laurel Lynn, and she gets a call from Addison. Addison has been very good. She's called her every day, sometimes a couple times a day, checking on her. They have a conversation, and Addison apologizes to her because she tells her, I've been kind of a shitty friend to you. When that thing went down with my brother, I should have been on your side, and I wasn't. I kind of left you out there, and I know that pushed you towards going ahead and moving in with Lachlan, because that's what she still calls him, instead of staying, and she apologized for that. I was happy she at least sees the error of her ways, so she might have some redemption. She might. Addison comes home a couple days later. They're doing her laundry and stuff, and she breaks out a vibrator that she bought for Laura Lynn, because she's like, you're going to need it. You were having great orgasms, and now you've gone cold turkey. You're going to need these. She actually bought her two. So Zach wants her to come back to Australia indefinitely. And she's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I want to do it, but I'm scared to. I know I love him. I know I want to be with him. But do I just give up my whole life and go? Now, in Laura Lynn's mind, she's thinking that is a no-brainer. She would give up her whole life to go. So, but I also feel like that's because of where you are at now, right? The situation with the music isn't the greatest. That's easy. That's an easy choice. Just saying. So Addison's manager set up an audition for her to join this group called Southern Ophelia. And they have a male and female lead singers, and the female just left. And they're supposed to cut an album in a month and go on tour for like 6 months. So she was like, I don't know if I can do that because, I like all the attention. Addison at least is honest about who she is, okay? And she says, well, I think you should do it. Laura Lynn was like, it will be a good opportunity for you. You should do it. But Addison has decided she's going back to Australia. She's going to get back. She's going to get her man, honey. Like, she's decided. So she wants Laura Lynn to take her place at the audition. She's like, well, you can't do that. It doesn't work that way. She's like, yes, it is. We'll figure it out. We're going to do a switch at the last minute. So we fast forward to the audition day. Sure enough, when it's time for her to go on, she does the switch and says, she's going to be going out of the country, and she just wanted to make sure that they had someone to, try and fill the spot. So they had an attitude at first, of course. They were just kind of like, your manager set this up for you. We were expecting Addison, blah, 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 right? So it feels like rejection to Laura Lynn. She's not about to beg anybody for anything. She tells them it's fine, it's no issue. Hope you all find someone. She's about to leave out. And then the guy, I think his name's Charlie, who's the other lead singer, he says, go ahead and just do the audition, because Addison has said, she plays piano and she plays guitar and she can sing her butt off. So they give her the opportunity. They asked her what she was going to sing. She said What Hurts Most, and I think it's by Rascal Flatts, I think. And they had a great song. I cannot think of the name of it for right now, that I loved some years ago. But anyway, I digress. So she sings. She closes her eyes. At first, people think she does that because she's nervous, but it's not. It's because music transports her. And it's almost like she gets into the music. And when she opens her eyes, the Charlie guy is looking dead at her in a trance. He is stunned. Whole band is stunned. And of course, before they leave, they're all about her. We find out her manager, David, also dropped her after what happened with Blake Phillips. So it looks like she is going to be a part of Southern Ophelia. Good for her. Oh, and she also told them that her name was Laurel Lynn Prescott, but she goes by a stage name of Paige McLaughlin. I said, check her out. We fast forward 3 months, and finally our boy is able to get where Paige is. He's in Dallas for her concert. He found her online once she got with that band. And so he's brought that Martin, that D45 Martin. He brought that with him because she left that behind, and he wants to give it to her and do the whole confession thing of love, right? So he watches the concert. He's seeing the other lead singer look at her, and he can tell this guy is into her. And so the music starts, and he's wondering if they're together. And he can't be mad at her because, hell, he almost fucked somebody, But it wouldn't matter. He still would love her. He still would want her. He's crazy about her. At the end of the day, you didn't tell her how you felt. So if she moves on, she moves on. So the concert goes great. Afterwards, he bribes the security guy with like $1,000 to take the guitar back, and the security guy lets him. He's just like, just don't get caught. Just don't tell him I let you back. So he goes to the door. It's cracked. Laura Lynn is in there with Charlie, and Charlie's like rubbing on her leg, and she's not stopping him. And then he sees them kiss, and he's like, oh God, they are together. So he's thinking again, it's been 3 months. She's found someone. And he knows that the songs that she was singing at the concert, that they were about him, But again, those songs were about, a lost love, right? So, not saying goodbye to the person you love, leaving. So he gives the Martin to a guy that's a part of the band, because the guy was like, hey, what are you doing back here? And so he's like, could you give this to Laurel Lynn? And he has a single rose. And the guy's like, who do I say it's from? And he says, she'll know. We switch to Laurel Lynn's POV, and she's sitting there with Charlie, and we find out what's been going on. So she's not with Charlie, but for the past couple of months, Charlie has been trying to get her to fall for him. He knows about Jack Henry, that's who she's in love with. And he's been giving her time to kind of like wear her down, basically. Or or see if she's going to be more open to something with him. He's ready to tell her that he wants to be with her, and she knows it. And so she's about to tell him it's not going to happen when the drummer, PJ, comes in, And he says, hey, someone just brought this. And when that bitch sees that Martin, she knows it's her Jack Henry and she bursts out. She runs all the way through the venue screaming his name. She gets to the street. She sees him. She's screaming his name. She's yelling. He gets in the cab. She runs down the street, bams on the trunk of the cab. The cab still pulls away, and she just drops to her knees and she just cries. And then the cab stops and Jack Henry gets out and she runs to him and she's like, come back with me. And so he comes with her, but she sees this look on his face, and it's a look she's never seen. But she's at the point like she doesn't care. The fact that he's here, that's what she cares about. And so when they get towards the back and she says she's going to go in with the guys, he says, I'll just stand out here. And she knows he saw her kissing Charlie. And she goes in, and Charlie's like, damn it. The day I decide to really go for it, he comes back. And she's like, I'm sorry, you know? And she didn't want to hurt him. And he tells her, it's not your fault that you're so easy for someone to fall in love with, you know? It's not your fault. You know, end of the day, she told him she was in love with somebody else. If you choose to stick around and wait and hope, that's on you, right? But she's been very honest about she is all about her Jack Henry, honey. That is it. So they leave and go to the Fairmont Hotel. He tells her to go take a shower. She's freezing. And then they'll talk. Now, she wanted him to just rip her clothes off and fuck her, you know. But now she's nervous because this is not the response she thought she would have from him. Now, she fears that he's going to tell her that he doesn't want her anymore, which I'm like, girl, he done came halfway across the world. Stop. You know? But that's the fear. She comes out, she straddles him, they kiss, he pulls away from her, and he says, please don't tell me you're in love with him. Please don't tell me I'm too late. And she says, no, I don't love him. I was just in pain, and I was trying not to feel it for a little bit. That's all. So then we switch to Jack Henry's POV, and he asked her, did you let him fuck you? Just tell me the truth. His eyes are closed. He can't even look at her. He's terrified of what she might say. She grabs his face. She's like, open your eyes and look at me. He does, and she says, you are the only person that has ever been in my heart, and no one else has been inside of me. There will be no one else inside of me. So they wind up making love. And maybe she's not pregnant because he's looking at her stomach. She's just kind of like, what is your fascination with my stomach? So she doesn't tell him to put on a condom. So he fucks her, nuts in her. And he's thinking, okay, maybe she is pregnant and that's why she doesn't care, you know, that I came in her, you know. So he tells her he's sorry that he didn't tell her how he felt about her before. She asked him, you know, why didn't you tell me when you first realized it, you know? And he said that it was too late because he was like, you left, you know? I was preparing to tell you how I felt about you, and then you were gone, you know? And she just kind of told him, I'm sorry about that, but I just didn't think you felt anything for me. And I just couldn't stomach having that conversation and you saying to me how much you didn't feel anything. I just couldn't bear it, you know? And he was just like, I'm so sorry that I made it complicated. You know, I want to be with you, whatever that takes. She was kind of nervous about it because her thing is, I fell for you before, you didn't catch me. He tells her, I will never do that to you again. I'll always be here forever. He doesn't say anything about the marriage proposal yet. He doesn't want to scare her, but he does want her to know how much he loves her. So they both agree that they want this, however complicated this thing is going to wind up being. They're in bed. He keeps touching her stomach, and she asks him, "What is it with you in my stomach? Have you suddenly developed this fetish with my navel piercing?" He says no, so he tells her about the pills that he found. She lets him know she's not pregnant. She actually has an IUD because she figured she wasn't going to be having any kids anytime soon. So he lets her know that if she would have been pregnant, he would have been happy about it. That melted her heart. And she was like, if she was pregnant, she actually, previous to him saying that, she would have been like petrified to tell him, because when they met, how much he had said like he didn't want any kids, you know? And so she tells him, "I don't want you to make love to me. I want you to like fuck me hard. Like it's been too long. I need it." So he turns her over, puts her leg together, and goes to Pound Town. It's a great fuck. They've never done it like that with her legs together, and she was just beyond bliss. So then she asked him if he had been with other women. So she felt it was only fair, and I do too, because he did ask her if she had fucked old dude, right? So that's only fair. I get it. He says, she tells him, "Just tell me the truth." He says, "I have not been inside of any woman since you." And she says, "Okay." And he's not lying, because he did not fuck that woman. The woman didn't suck him off. He wasn't inside of the woman. So he's not lying. While they're lying in bed, his phone rings. It's his mom. She, of course, is trying to find out if he's found her or not. So he answers and he tells her he found her. And the mom's like, "Well, you all need to let me get off the phone, basically, so you can do what you need to do. Tell her I miss her." And that makes her super happy, because she really did like the mom. The mom was so sweet to her. So then she winds up giving him head. And then the next morning, she takes a shower, and when she comes back, he tells her that her phone had been ringing, but he didn't look at it. It was Charlie saying that the bus was now leaving out at 8 instead of 9. Now the shit's getting real, right? This is her life. She's got a career now. You got a whole ass company in Australia. So this is a huge elephant in the room. And they don't really want to tackle it, but they know they have to at some point. He feels like, "I'm not ready to let you go. I just got you." He's like, "Can I take you to," I think they're going to Austin, if I'm not mistaken. "Can I take you in a limo? And we make it there. I'll get you there 2, 3 hours earlier, but it'll give us like 7 hours together in this room." So she's down with it. So she's going to go down to the bus, get some clothes and stuff, and let the guys know that she's going to meet them there. I'm sure the Charlie guy might not be too happy about it. So we don't get the confrontation. I was hoping it would be like a little confrontation when she goes, but we don't get that. They're in the back of the limo. We find out Addison called her. She told Addison everything finally. Addison was pissed off because she's like, "How could you not tell me all of this shit?" That's so fucked up. So Addison is in Wagga Wagga, and he was like, "God damn it, no wonder the private eye couldn't find her." And she was like, "Wait a minute, you had a private eye looking for me?" He's like, "Yeah, I was trying to find you." So that makes her all frisky. They wind up fucking all, a couple times in the limo. And she does admit afterwards, after they finish fucking, she admits Avalon did feel like home. She's been working, a really long time on her career too. And she's finally having some success, and she's not really ready to give that up. So what they're going to do is, for the next 4 weeks, he's going to be here with her. And he's like, "I'm not going to pressure you, but I am going to try and convince you to come back with me, you know? He's like, these emotion, these feelings for you, they're not going anywhere. It, this is what it is. But I kind of feel like because of the situation, if you have to do long distance for a little period of time, I would hope you would be able to survive it. They get to the venue. Uh, I think the hotel might be at the same place. I'm not sure. Um, she was still naked when they pulled up, so they had to rush and get her clothes on. And she kind of accused him of wanting to look freshly fucked, and that's why he did it. So anyway, they go. She's getting ready for the show. He's looking at this place where she is, and all these the crowds coming in, and it's really hitting him. She's a star, and she's just gonna get bigger. And it's like, how is he supposed to convince her to choose him over this? And this is where I don't know if I don't agree with that. I don't feel like something she has worked her life for, she should have to give it up for him. Because are you willing to do the same thing for your family business? Are you willing to sell it and come live in the States? Like, you got to be willing to do to me, you got to be willing to do what you're asking her to do. And I get it. He's a rich man. He's got a lot of stuff. I get it. But this is her dream that she's, finally succeeding. She shouldn't have to stop. And honestly, you shouldn't want her to stop. Is my point, my thing. So they have a great performance, and then the last song she does is a song for him. She blows a kiss at him. He catches it. The guy next to him is like, "That's your girlfriend?" He's like, "Yep, but she's more than that." So he goes to where she had told him to meet up, and she tells him she wants him to go in with the band, and they do their meeting for like 15 minutes afterwards, and don't act stupid. And he actually was great, got along with everybody. She actually had to kind of pull him out because they were all having really good conversation. So their rooms are next to each other, and he's like, next time we are not going to have our rooms next to them because I don't think you want them to hear you getting fucked, right? So then he says he's got an idea. I'm sorry. She says she's got an idea. She puts on this song Addicted, tells him she wants a strip tease, and she says, I've given you plenty even when you haven't asked. So I want one now. And so he starts shimmying, and he tells her, you better get your dollar bills out. He gives her a little dance. He's edging her, finally lets her come, and she wants him to make her come by eating her pussy. So he does. She screams loud as hell. They fuck. Afterwards, she says she's going to get a tattoo on her lower part of her back. Something that says, like, you're lucky or some shit like that. And he says, don't you ever touch that because it's like his favorite part of her body. So afterwards, they're lying in bed. They have a little conversation, and she tells him um, kind of what's been going on with her mom. And he tells her that, I'm sorry, she tells him, a couple of weeks before I left Avalon, your mom came to talk to me, and she basically was telling me I need to give you some nookie. He's like, oh my gosh, yeah, that would be my mom. She can't, like, she doesn't care. She wants you in the family, and that's just kind of it. Can't really stop her. So then he was just kind of like, that's why I couldn't stop being buried in your pussy all the time. And she says, well, it's not like it did any good, you know? And he's like, he had planned on telling her when he came home that night. He's like, I was going to ask you to stay. And she said, without, oh my gosh. She's like, she didn't know that because if he would have said that to her, she would have stayed. But now, guess what? Budding career, this shit ain't as cut and dry. And I kind of, again, I felt like it's always easier if you don't have stuff going on that you really care about. I think it's easier to go with the option of being with the person you love. That's kind of easy, right? But when there's something you want so bad and it's working for you, I don't think it's so easy for her to walk away. And again, I don't feel like she should. I really, really don't. She winds up asking him, like, kind of, when did this whole needing this arrangement thing start? Like, when did this start for you? He tells the story. He made his first million when he was like 23, and he kept quadrupling that amount every couple of years, okay? And he had this woman named Lana that he really liked, and he still didn't want to get married and have children, but he did really care about her. And Lana wanted a baby. She wanted to trap him. So he kept noticing every time they fucked, the condom broke. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? Now, she was also supposed to be on the pill. So one day he inspected the condoms because she would be the one to always grab it, and he saw holes in it. Then he went and looked for her birth control pills and packs all there. So she was clearly trying to get pregnant. So then he went out of town and he met this woman. They had great conversation. The woman didn't know who he was because he's not a celebrity, which is why when they were at the opera, it was such a big deal because no one had seen him with a woman. So it was like a huge deal. So he realized when he goes out of town, he can, give them a different name. Doesn't have to find out any information. He's very upfront with them about what it's going to be. And then he doesn't have to worry about the issues that he had with Lana. So that's where it all came from. And she's just kind of like, oh. But he says, just to let you. So she tells him, just so you're aware, I want children and I want to get married. And I want babies, plural. And he tells her, that's not going to be a problem. He's like, I want to be with you. And I want to see little people with our faces around us. I thought that was so cute. So he's not going to ask her to marry him just yet. They've only gotten back into each other's lives for like 2 days. He wants to give her like a really special, beautiful, memorable proposal. They're on their way to the meeting with her band, and Jack Henry was going to come with her, but he got a phone call from Harold at the vineyard saying that there's an issue. So he's like, do you mind if I take this and I'll just meet you in our room afterwards? And she said, cool, no problem. So she goes in, and actually, I'm sorry, prior to that, I'm sorry, I missed something. Apparently, Audrey has struck again. Okay? So this bitch, I mean, I didn't think she was going to just stop because once she saw that her plan didn't work, like, she's going to try something else. So she done struck the vineyard again. So he's going to go handle that. So then she goes into the room with the guys. Randy, I don't know if he's a part of the band or a manager. I don't remember. But anyway, he's talking and they're saying that someone uploaded that song that you did, the one that she did for Jack Henry, and it's gone viral. So they want to get her back to Nashville, get her in the studio, get it recorded so it can get released. For her, it's a personal song. It's not for everybody. Yes, she sung it, but it's a very intimate song for her. But I'm just like, but girl, but you sung it in front of a bunch of people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That it could be a little dicey with that. You're in a band, you perform a song, and everyone loves it. The next step is to release the song. Why would you sing something that you don't want released? That's how my mind works. But for her, it's like this personal song that she wrote, And my thing is, then you just should have sung it to him by yourself. Just saying. She gets a little upset because she's like, I'm a part of this band, so why was this conversation had without me? And they were like, no, we were just talking about this. We just found this out. Like, this is nothing we're doing behind your back. Well, then guess who comes walking in? Fucking Blake Phillips. So Randy is friends with Blake, and they're getting him to produce the fucking song. And she's looking like, the fuck? And she knows that they're probably looking at her like she's being ungrateful because Blake let her out of the contract that she was in, not knowing that it's based on the fact that of what he did to her. You know what I'm saying? They don't know any of this. So she was just kind of like, I'm going to have to, I don't know about this. I'm not okay with this. And she winds up leaving. And Blake is right on her tail. Because now Jack Henry, he like went downstairs. So she goes to, it was supposed to be, I guess, a short meeting anyway. But this seemed like this was even shorter. Well, anyway, she's having a hard time getting the key card to turn green. Blake comes in behind her, covers her mouth, forces her in the room, and is telling her, I just need to talk to you. She bit his hand. She's like, I don't want to talk to you. We don't have anything to talk about. And he's delusional, like, clearly. And he's telling her, why are you trying to make it seem like we don't mean anything to each other? He's like, I told my wife I'm leaving her. I'm getting a divorce. She's like, I didn't tell you to do that. We're not together, you know? And he's just getting madder and madder. And he's like, how could you do this to me? Like, I'm divorcing my wife and now you don't want me. She says, I told you before I didn't want you. He's like, I threw away my life for you. She's like, no, you didn't. So he slapped her, and it's gonna bruise, it seems like. Grabbed her because she wasn't listening to him, he says. And then he almost raped her. She had to headbutt him to like get him off of her. So now she's got blood coming down her damn face. And he was just about to snatch her panties off and fuck her when Jack Henry came in and was like, I'm so sorry, it took me longer than I thought. And he beat the shit out of Blake. So then he calls the police. Need an ambulance. There's been an assault. They get her all checked out. He kept asking her, are you okay? Where are you hurt? And she realized he was trying to find out if he had raped her. And he almost did, but he didn't get me. So they're going back to Nashville. They had to cancel the rest of the tour dates for the next week. They're going to say she has the flu. And she kind of wonders, is that Randy's way of trying to cover up for his friend? And I'm going to tell you this, though. If your friend out here raping people, I don't think you would probably be dealing with a friend like that. If you are, you're a little sus, okay? Because that's just despicable. So they get back to her apartment. He, of course, what do you need? Are you hungry? She's still groggy from the medication that she took because it made her sleep the whole way back. And she's like, I just want to take a shower. I just want to get him off of me. So then she's in the shower. She winds up having him come in, and she tells him to get in the shower, and she just wanted to make sure, like, that what happened to her doesn't affect the way he sees her, that he still wants her. And he was like, I could never not want you. Like, get that out of your head. Like, ever. He's like, I'm just upset that I couldn't protect you. You never even experienced that if I had been back in time. And so she's like, I need you to touch me. She needs him to make her feel that what Blake did to her does not make her less desirable to him. And she was like, she wanted like a hard fucking because she didn't want him to think she was fragile and all this type of stuff. He didn't think it was a good idea, but he said if that's what she wants, he'll do whatever she asks. You know, he's still thinking about the idea of them with children being in Australia with his family, and that's where he feels like they should be. Because his family is very loving, okay? Because her mama ain't shit. So my thing is, what the fuck are you staying for? They wake up the next morning, and she's one of those sleepers. She likes to be like left alone, but she seems to like be okay with cuddling now. And I think maybe it was because she felt she might have always been that way, but I think it also helped her with the idea, you know, they weren't supposed to be anything, you know? So I don't need to be laying up on you and cuddling with you and shit. So I get that. And then he's the cuddle bunny. He's not normally like that. It's like they switch roles. But she's been fine since they've been back. She's been able to cuddle with him and sleep, like actually fall asleep on him. But I think maybe it's more solid now. Like this man now, you now know how he feels. It's a little different. So she's like, "There's no groceries in the house. We're gonna have to go grocery store. We're gonna have to go grocery shopping." So she tells him to get a pen and pad out of the drawer. Well, he finds her toys, her vibrators, and of course he wants to use them. So he winds up bringing her, um, making her come with those, and then pounds into her afterwards. So they go to the store. They're picking up stuff. She's going to make lasagna, his favorite. And then she gets a call from her mom. And her mom's just calling to see how the tour is going. And she tells her mom she's back in Nashville because Blake attacked her. And the mom is like, wants all the details. And she's like, I'll talk to you about it later. And she's like, no, me and your dad, we're coming over now. And she's like, no, you can just come for dinner. And Jack Henry didn't look too pleased because you already know how he views both of those parents. And she tells her mom that Jack Henry's here. And the mom's like, the Aussie's here? And she's like, yep. And the mom didn't seem too happy to meet him either. But I wouldn't give a shit because the mom is awful. But anyway, the little girl sees her and says, Ms. McLaughlin, can I get an autograph? And he looks, and she just kind of gives him a smile. He just smiles. And they're getting their food ready. She winds up burning herself, pulling out the lasagna. She didn't destroy the lasagna, thank goodness. He gets some ice for her, and he says, so, Ms. McLaughlin. And she she doesn't say anything, and he kind of like he's going to say something to her about it later. So she says, be on your good behavior. If you do that, I will give you a treat later. I'll reward you. And he says, okay, for that, I'll be on my best behavior. So the mom and dad come. The dad doesn't seem too bad. At the same time, he did neglect her for like 23 years. The mom, however, was wanting to know what happened with the Blake guy, so she told him everything. This was his first time hearing about the Blake incident at the studio in the parking garage, because Jake Beckett was like, I knew I should have did something after he attacked you in the parking garage. And he, of course, Jack Henry's thinking, yeah, me and her going to have a little talk about that too, because he didn't know anything about it. Then the mom was kind of like, basically, you popping up, does this have something to do with her recent success? And the dad had asked him like what he does for a living. And he just says he owns some vineyards. And Laurel Lynn says he's being modest. He does very well for himself. And he had to let that mom know because she had made this she was like making these slick comments, and he had to let her know there's more than one multimillionaire at this table. And the mom was like, oh, I didn't realize you had that kind of wealth. And she was like, Laurel Lynn never said anything about it. And he says, and that's exactly why I love her, because she doesn't care about what I have. And so while later, like, the mom had cornered Jack Henry in the kitchen and was telling him that Laurel Lynn's life is in the US and he'll be robbing her if he takes her back to Australia. And in all honesty, I just think the mom wants her around because that's the link to the dad. And if Laurel Lynn leaves, I don't feel like the dad is going to stay fucking with the mom. I just don't. I could be wrong, but that's the vibe so far that they're giving across, that he's not going to stay. And I feel like that's why she keeps holding on to Laurel Lynn like this, you know? Because when Laurel Lynn needs to talk about shit, she be all concerned about that man. I do not like that mom. So after the parents leave, they do have a conversation, and he does. I know it makes me sound like a selfish bastard that I want you to leave everything and come with me, but I do. I know it's not fair to you, but he's like, I do want you to have all your dreams, you know? And she kind of says to him, you know, would you consider selling your vineyards and coming and starting a new life in here? And she's like, I can't ask you to do that because your family's there. So again, they're still stuck at this crossroads. So they make plans because he wants to take her somewhere, being that, you know, she's going to be off for the next few days. And he wants to take her on a trip, but she's been traveling a lot, so she doesn't want to go too far. But when he says Vegas, she's like, okay, we can do that for like 2 days. So he'll have her back by the weekend. So that way she'll have the full weekend to recuperate, and then she'll be ready for the studio on Monday. So she's like, okay, cool. So they go. He, of course, gets his, you know, presidential suite. He gets her set up with this pampering massage sessions for like 2 hours of nothing but pampering for her. It's wonderful. She loves it. He's got to take care of some business from back home. So he handles that while she's getting pampered. When she's done, she sees an outfit in the window. It's giving showgirl, and it's 1,500. And she buys it because, you know, she got a couple dollars now. So she buys it, goes upstairs. He's on the phone. He's ready to fuck, but she denies him. She wants to give him a surprise with the outfit later. So then when they're getting ready to go out, he gives her another gift, and this time it's a bracelet with the infinity symbol. And then it's whatever symbol that's on the necklace that he gave her in the first book. And she was like, what's with the infinity? He says, you know, you always do that. You always, when you're nervous, you always kind of, that's what you draw on me, basically. She didn't even realize she did it, but she loved the gift. So he goes and gets dressed up in a suit, and she, of course, doesn't know what they're going to go do, but she's excited. And there's still this lingering issue of giving up her career, which she shouldn't have to. So he can see the look on her face when her mind starts thinking about the career issue. And he's like, nope, we're not going to think about that. He takes her downstairs. They have dinner at this private place. Of course, it's, you know, the chef's going to serve them. And then he takes her to a burlesque show, which she's excited about and crazy because he has no idea that she bought that whole showgirl outfit. So he starts to get a little whiny when they're at the burlesque show. And she wanted to watch the show, and she's like, just be patient. Then they're leaving out, and they stop by the craps table. She had never played it before, and when she starts playing, she's good. She's having fun. He's drinking. He's getting upset. Other men are watching her. He throws a tantrum because basically he's like, all of them are looking at you. I know they want you and all this type of stuff. And she's like, it doesn't matter when I'm only going to be with you. So they leave, go upstairs, and she goes and gets ready, comes out. He's so turned on, he's about to blow a load. And then Before they fuck, he asked her, he says, marry me. So she looks at him like, what are you serious? He, of course, keeps saying it. He's saying how much he wants her, to watch his babies grow inside her, all this shit. The problem is he's drunk. And she's like, a drunk proposal is not attractive, you know? He says, I know it's not, but it'll be better the next time. I'll have a ring, I'll have flowers, I'll have beautiful words, all this type of stuff. But her thing is she wants him to be coherent, you know? So the next morning they wake up, he doesn't bring up anything about the proposal, you know? They're still at the standstill of him not moving here and her not moving there. She loves him, he loves her, but she doesn't think she's going to be able to go back. I'm sorry, she's not going to be able to give up on her career.